Episode 1, A Troubled Beginning. Jake Marshall was a 17-year-old high school student with a complex personality and an even more complicated life. Standing at 6 feet tall with an athletic but slightly lean build, Jake had the appearance of someone strong and confident. His dark brown hair, often messy, and piercing blue eyes gave him a rugged look that was further enhanced by a small scar above his right eyebrow, a relic from a childhood accident. Jake's demeanor was initially one of arrogance and toughness. He was often seen in casual, sporty clothes, hoodies, t-shirts, and jeans, with a worn leather jacket that he considered his good luck charm. However, beneath his confident exterior, Jake harbored deep emotional turmoil. His mother had given him a simple silver chain bracelet, which he wore as a reminder of her love and support. At Pinewood High, Jake was known as a bully. One of his frequent targets was Ethan Carter, a slim, slightly built 16-year-old who had recently transferred to the school. Ethan, with his sandy blonde hair and green eyes, was quiet, introverted, and passionate about technology and video games. Despite being bullied, he remained hopeful and tried to see the good in people. Jake's bullying was relentless, and Ethan often found himself humiliated in front of the school. One day, Jake's grades began to slip, adding to his frustrations. His performance in school had never been stellar, but now it was plummeting. This decline caught the attention of Principal Margaret Miller, a strict but fair woman who had been the principal of Pinewood High for over a decade. She deeply cared about her students and saw potential in Jake, despite his troublesome behavior. During one of their meetings, Principal Miller sternly warned Jake that his current path would lead to dire consequences. Jake's aggressive behavior didn't stop with Ethan. He often found himself at odds with Lisa Thompson, an athletic and confident 17-year-old soccer player who had known Jake since childhood. Lisa, with her dark brown hair tied back in a ponytail and determined hazel eyes, had initially supported Jake. However, as his behavior grew more aggressive, she started to distance herself from him, even confronting him about going too far. At home, Jake's life was equally tumultuous. His father, Robert Marshall, was a stern and demanding man, quick to anger and often harsh with Jake. Their strained relationship was a constant source of conflict. Jake's mother, Susan, a compassionate and understanding woman, tried her best to support him, but her efforts were often overpowered by Robert's strictness. One evening, Jake overheard his parents discussing divorce. Standing in the dimly lit hallway, he listened to their heated argument, feeling a mix of anger and hurt. This revelation only fueled his internal struggles. Later, Jake's father berated him in the kitchen, yelling about his failing grades and unruly behavior. Jake stood there, looking downcast and angry, while his mother, gentle and worried, tried to comfort him, but he turned away. The situation reached a boiling point when Jake bullied Ethan again, and Ethan's elder brother decided to step and confront Jake at the schoolyard. The teachers had to step in to break the fight. Despite earnest attempts to warn Jake about his anger issues, Jake's frustration and defensiveness only grew. That same night, he stood outside a house party, feeling the sting of rejection as he watched his classmates enjoy themselves inside. Jake was made to offer an apology to Ethan, which was insincere. He wasn't truly remorseful. Jake's bullying took another turn as he targeted Sarah Johnson, a petite and delicate 16-year-old with light brown hair and a kind heart. Despite her small stature, Sarah was resilient. Ethan went to Sarah and sat by her side to comfort her, something that Jake felt he missed dearly. Jake mocked her in the school hallway. She retaliated by throwing a drink in his face in the cafeteria, surprising everyone around them. Jake's destructive path continued when he smashed a window in an empty classroom in a fit of rage. The act led to his suspension, with Principal Miller handing him the notice while he sat in her office, looking furious. At home, his father threatened to send him to military school, holding a pamphlet and angrily pointing at Jake. The confrontation left Jake feeling even more isolated and desperate. Jake's mom expressed her disappointment at Jake's behavior at school, but there was a glimmer of hope. Principal Miller offered Jake one last chance, community service at the local shelter. Reluctantly, Jake agreed. On his first day at the shelter, he met Mr. Thompson, the shelter manager, a former military man dedicated to helping others. Mr. Thompson's stern but fair demeanor was daunting, and Jake struggled with the tasks assigned to him. Over time, Jake began to interact more with the shelter residents and listened on as Mr. Thompson shared his story. He met Emily, a cheerful and kind girl who shared her own experiences with bullying. Initially, Jake brushed off her story, but the seed of change had been planted. He helped Mark, a homeless man, for the first time to carry a box of supplies. and listen to Mark's story with a conflicted expression. As Jake continued his community service, he started to see the shelter residents as individuals with unique stories. He bonded with Timmy, a young boy, helping him with his homework and sharing smiles. Gradually, Jake's tough exterior began to crack, revealing a more vulnerable and remorseful side. One day, Jake stood in the schoolyard sincerely apologizing to Sarah and Ethan. Although wary, they cautiously accepted his apology. The journey from conflict to resolution was long and arduous, but Jake was determined to change. At the shelter, he interacted positively with the residents, showing signs of genuine growth. The story of Jake Marshall is one of transformation. From a feared bully to a respected and redeemed individual, his journey is marked by struggles, reflections, and a desire for redemption. Through the support of those around him and his own determination, Jake began to carve a new path, one of hope and change.